Everyone was looking at the crime, the broken door, the missing cash, the injured victim. All the attention stayed there, because that was where the story felt loudest. But the truth was never inside the crime scene. It was hiding in something much quieter, the timeline. And by the time anyone noticed it, the wrong person was already sitting in court, waiting for everything to end. Before the truth unfolds, subscribe to the Unheard Witness, because sometimes what people ignore is the only thing that matters. The case started with a robbery. Late evening, a small business office located in a busy commercial area. Employees had already left for the day. Only one person remained inside: the manager. He was finishing paperwork when the incident happened. According to his report, someone entered through the back door. Quick, unexpected. The intruder demanded access to the safe. There was no prolonged struggle, no extended conversation, just urgency. The manager said he complied out of fear. The safe was opened. Cash was taken. And the intruder left within minutes. The police arrived shortly after. The scene looked consistent with the report. The back door showed signs of forced entry. The safe was open. Money was missing. The manager appeared shaken. He had a minor injury on his arm, nothing severe, but enough to support his claim. The investigation moved quickly because there was already a suspect, a former employee, recently dismissed. Someone who knew the office layout, someone who knew about the safe, someone who had argued with the manager days earlier. The connection felt immediate. The police brought him in. He denied everything, said he had not been near the office, said he had moved on after losing the job. But his denial did not hold much weight, because the evidence began to stack. Security cameras from nearby shops captured a figure moving toward the office that evening. The image was not clear, but the height and build matched him. A partial face covering, a familiar walking pattern, enough for suspicion. Then came another detail: phone records. His phone had connected to a nearby cell tower around the time of the robbery, not inside the building, but close enough. The prosecution began forming the case because everything pointed in one direction: motive, opportunity, presence. The pieces aligned. The trial began. The courtroom focused on the crime itself, the forced entry, the missing money, the confrontation. The manager took the stand. He described the incident clearly, calmly, every detail in order: the intruder's movements, the demand for the safe, the quick exit. Nothing felt exaggerated, nothing felt uncertain. The jury listened carefully, because the story made sense. The former employee had reason. He knew the place. He could have planned everything. The prosecution presented the security footage, grainy images of a figure approaching the building. The timing matched the reported incident. The defense tried to challenge it, pointed out the lack of clear identification, but the resemblance was enough to hold attention. Then the phone records were shown. Connection to a nearby tower. Were right place, right time. Again, not perfect, but consistent. The defense struggled, because nothing directly proved innocence, only small doubts. And small doubts are easy to ignore when the main story feels strong. The courtroom remained focused on the crime. What happened inside the office? How it happened? Why it happened? But no one paid attention to something else, something quieter. The sequence of events, the timeline. The defense attorney noticed it first, not immediately, but gradually. A feeling, a slight discomfort. He reviewed the manager's testimony again, the order of events, the timing of each action. Then he compared it with the security logs, the door, the safe, the alarm system. Something did not line up perfectly. Mahi asked the court to display the building's internal system logs. The judge allowed it. The records appeared on the screen: timestamps, door access, alarm triggers, safe activity. The defense began to walk through each entry slowly. The back door was forced open at a specific time. The alarm triggered briefly, then deactivated. Moments later, the safe was opened. Then, the intruder left. Everything seemed consistent, until one detail stood out. The safe had been opened before the door was forced. The courtroom went quiet, because that detail did not match the story. The manager had said the intruder demanded access after entering, but the logs showed the safe was accessed first, before any entry was recorded. The prosecution reacted quickly, suggested possible system delay, synchronization issues, technical errors, but the defense continued. He asked for verification of the system clock. It was accurate, maintained automatically, no discrepancy. Then he asked another question: who had access to the safe code? The manager confirmed he did. The former employee had known it in the past, but it had been changed after his dismissal. The defense paused because that changed everything. If the code had been changed, the former employee could not have opened the safe, at least not without knowing the new code. The prosecution suggested the code could have been discovered, observed, guessed. But the defense introduced another detail. The safe required two-step verification, a code, and a physical key. The key was kept by the manager, always. The courtroom shifted, because now the timeline told a different story. The safe was opened first, using both code and key. Then the door was forced. The sequence was reversed. The crime scene had been staged. The defense stepped back. Let the silence settle, because the timeline had just exposed something the crime itself had hidden. The jury looked at the evidence again, but this time differently. Not at what happened, but when it happened. The manager sat still. His earlier confidence faded slightly, because the story he told no longer matched the order of events. The prosecution tried to recover, suggested confusion, stress, misremembering. But the logs did not rely on memory. They recorded facts, and those facts told a different story. The defense delivered the final point quietly. So if the safe was opened before the break-in, then the person inside had access, control, preparation. And the forced entry was not the beginning. It was the cover. The courtroom understood, slowly, completely. The former employee had been accused because the crime looked like something he would do, but the timeline showed something else. The crime had been arranged, constructed, designed to point outward, away from the real source. Everyone had focused on the crime, the noise, the damage, the fear. But no one noticed the timeline. And that was where the truth had been hiding the entire time.